When is the last time that you let yourself be seen? Not by other people, but by you. Really stopped, looked in the mirror, and allowed yourself to be witnessed. Not because you want to critique and pick at and try to fix every little micro flaw, but instead allowing yourself to deeply appreciate what you see. If you're anything like me, then it may have been a long time. It might have been a ridiculous journey back. Maybe you're still on your way. Well, today we're going to have a conversation. I want to talk to you about how I made my way back to this place where now I see myself no longer allowing other people to be the main character of my story, but instead I am the most important person to me, which I think is so important that we allow ourselves to be the main character of our own stories. If you are new here, hello, my name is Jasmine Vializ. Welcome back to Mindfully Amplified. If you are coming back again in this space, we are always in every episode, we are taking a journey through cultural exploration and personal growth. I am excited because today's conversation, we're going to talk about allowing yourself to be seen, to be witnessed, to the most important person in your entire life, which is you. I know there's so many of us who have been told that if we focus too much on ourselves and allow ourselves to take up the space, sometimes it can be seen as ego-driven or egotistical. But instead, I want you to think about this. In every great story, in every great movie, there is always a main character. There is someone that we are clinging to, that we want to understand, that is through life, going on this journey through whatever it is in their adventure. And we become connected to that story, to that main character. And so when we're taking this journey through life, it's really important that we allow ourselves to be that main character of our own story, allowing ourselves to experience the truth of what's possible for us in this life, allowing our own lens of our own life to be the one that we care about, not the lens of other people, not the judgment of other people, not the social media posts and the story posts and the things that people are perceiving about our life and our world, but instead our own experience, our own lives being fully embodied, being fully ours. So I've spent many years devoted to others, in service to others, in devotion, we'll say, in a way of self-sacrificing at times and people-pleasing, and in a lot of ways leaned more into self-neglect as a ritual, as a habit in my relationships. And when I continued to live in this way and to move through life in this way, eventually I realized that I was so oriented to helping, serving, giving to other people that I no longer saw myself in my own story. And then very literally witnessing over the course of years that just something very simple as my phone pictures that I was taking and my journal writings or things that I was prioritizing in my life, even in my agenda, my to-do lists, all centered around other people 100% of the time, right? It wasn't a harmonious relationship that I had with others. It wasn't a relationship where I felt like I even belonged. A lot of the times it was just me there in service. And it's not like they demanded that from me or anything. It's just the unfortunate experience of having been really conditioned to the habit of people pleasing. And so if you've ever been around someone who's a people pleaser, or if you identify as a people pleaser, you can understand that it can be something that you come back to without even realizing it, right? New relationships come in and all of a sudden you're the one that's showing up always, and you're the one that's giving into the needs of this other individual, and they didn't even ask you to. It wasn't even something that they requested of you, right? And so instead, the moment where you might have allowed yourself to actually advocate for what you need, instead of allowing yourself to do the things that you desired, you all of a sudden are kind of leaning into these codependent type behaviors and putting these other things and people first. And those kind of habits can easily allow ourselves to shrink in our own universe, where now instead of us being the sun and the world moving around us, or our world moving around us, instead we are maybe even shrinking so little down to being like a secondary moon or something even smaller, right? Where we are just floating out there, right? And floating around and finding ourselves constantly revolving around other individuals and never allowing ourselves to be important to us, right? So I'm not saying go out and ignore all your people and now you're the only person who matters and all the things. What I'm saying is, why not consider what a harmonious relationship with all these people and all of these things, these commitments can be. Okay, so years and years and years in my businesses, lots of responsibilities, right? Lots of commitments to clients, lots of commitments to my team, making sure that everybody had what they need. And so those kind of habits over the course of time, without allowing myself to be a priority, those commitments can sometimes started to cause me to feel like they were the only thing, that they mattered so much more than me and my needs. And those kinds of habits, and we'll talk more about this in another episode, but those kind of habits really continued to erode my relationship with myself, right? Now I have this relationship. I had that relationship with myself in the past where I am the one who is seen as not worthy, the one who is seen as not important to my own universe, right? I'm not a priority to myself. And that is not a kind of relationship with myself that is a sustainable one, right? Who wants a relationship with someone who doesn't care about them? So instead of me becoming this loving, caring person to myself, I'm now neglectful. I oftentimes didn't even consider myself in equations. And so that becomes a habit in which now I'm teaching myself what it means to feel love by me, to feel cared for by me. So then what happens when I get into relationships? People that I'm in relationships with now witness the ways that I give, the ways that I show love. And I show love in a way at that time of self-sacrificing. So not allowing myself to even be a priority in my own life and in my own world. And so me teaching and training other people to see me in this way can sometimes start to shape those relationships to where now I feel neglected, where I feel left out, when in truth, I have taught you to love me this way. I have taught you to not see me as worthy, because that is how I see myself. And so it is extremely important that we start to allow ourselves to be witnessed by us. And as I started to walk this path back home to me, to allow myself to really be seen and understood and appreciated by me, now I can start to expect that, desire that, and really receive that from others. Because when we are not comfortable with appreciation, worthiness, and respect, if we are not accustomed to that because we neglect ourselves so often, when we encounter relationships and individuals that show up in that way, it's so uncomfortable. It's new. What exactly do I do with this person, with this relationship? Because they love me so much and I'm so unfamiliar with what it's like to be loved in this way. And so why this allowing ourselves to even just be seen, understood, and appreciated by us as individuals, by ourselves, to be witnessed in this life, it allows us to plant this seed of worthiness that continues to grow. And then the folks around us, these loving people, the people that want to be in our lives, they see, oh, this is how I can show up. She shows up for herself in this way. Let me nurture and care for this seed. She's worthy because I know that she sees herself as worthy. And because of that, I'm going to also pour into her in this way and remind her of her worthiness. So they start to continue to support your experience in this life, to support the ways that you see yourself and the ways that you allow yourself to continue to grow and blossom into something beautiful. This might be silly to you, or this might seem silly, I should say, to you, but even something as simple as me witnessing myself, no longer allowing myself to be photographed by me, not allowing moments to be captured where I was a part of those moments. So I'm looking at my phone and I would scroll for weeks and weeks and sometimes even months. And over the course of that entire period, I didn't show up in any of my own photos. Can you relate to that? Didn't show up in any of my own photos, none of my videos. It's wonderful to be able to witness and capture those moments outside of us, the experiences that we have, but why not allow ourselves to also be in that? Maybe you're not a selfie person, but perhaps it can be an invitation to someone else. Can you take a photo? Would you mind doing this clip, making a little video of this moment for me, right? If we desire to remember ourselves in those moments, then it's really important that we capture those moments and allow ourselves again to be witnessed in our memories, in our phones, in our pictures, right? Allowing others to be invited to say, oh, I know that Jasmine's going to want this captured, so I'm going to go ahead and take a picture and a video. I feel blessed in this season that so many of my friends and loved ones are accustomed to seeing me desire to capture moments that they know that it's hard for me because I'm capturing those moments outside. And it's hard for me to get those moments. And so they do me such the honor of capturing those videos and pictures. And so it feels really good to know that they see that I appreciate that as well, because I say it, I celebrate it, right? And there's so many of us, and I can absolutely relate if you've been that person where you're like, don't take a picture. I always look bad in pictures, or it's never the perfect shot or whatever, right? You could critique it. And so you can hide from the camera. I did that for years. I really was just ashamed of who I was and how I showed up, and just didn't feel great in my own body and my own skin, that when someone else would take a picture, immediately my eyes would go to the thing that I couldn't stand, and I would pick it apart and be like, can you delete it or file it away into the no one's ever going to see this bucket. And so I get it. I get how that is possible. But this is why this idea of using the mirror and mirror work is so vital. We're going to talk about that a little bit more, but really coming to terms with who you are to yourself and allowing your relationship with yourself to be healed, so that again, you can come back to this place of worthiness where you feel seen by you, seen as worthy of being seen and witnessed by yourself for who you are. So when did this all start for me? So when I first took this professional training class, we were talking about speaking and engaging others in conversation and creating rapport. And the idea was to allow the other person to see you. So looking eye to eye with another individual and not speaking, not doing anything with your hands, just witnessing the other person, and not from a place of critique, not scanning their bodies and their clothes for things, but instead just allowing the eye contact to happen. And I kid you not, in this professional environment, we're all dressed in our suits and business attire and business dresses and things like that. We were in a conference room, right? In a huge conference room at a hotel. And we are looking at each other eye to eye, and most of us started to cry. Very literally, makeup streaming down the face, cry, because it felt so incredibly vulnerable to allow this person to see us, to witness us, and to not fix and talk our way out of it. And if you're like me, my ADHD can send me into a talking frenzy where I can just scramble my way out of feeling uncomfortable in those moments of intense vulnerability. Instead, we're sitting in silence and we're just witnessing the other person. And the next stage, we're moving into nonverbal cues, but just those, I think it wasn't even less, it was less than 4 minutes or so, but just that period of time looking at this other individual and allowing ourselves to be witnessed, to be seen, was such a moment of awakening, and it just cracked us all open. Many of us were just like, what was that? It felt so bizarre. But I realized, why was it so uncomfortable? Because I didn't ever really allow anyone to see me in this way, to allow someone to just witness me in this way. And even in deep, romantic, loving relationships, right, we can oftentimes move ourselves out of the emotion of it and move ourselves into the performative nature of a relationship, and not just exist, not just allow ourselves, that person, to be present with ourselves. And so we started having these conversations about the concept of mirror work, to understand how to deeply listen, because rapport comes when we're deeply listening from other people, right? We're understanding what they need in that moment and trying to hear sometimes even the nonverbal things that people are communicating, right? In their sounds, in their breathing, right? And so we're trying to establish some deeper connection that comes beyond just words and sometimes even beyond handshakes and hugs, right? And so that next stage was allowing us to even just be witnessed in mirror work. And so we started to do this practice, and I continued the practice because I just appreciated it so much. And it was just me in the mirror, which sounded bizarre, for 10 minutes every day, and just standing eye to eye with myself and beginning a conversation, a coming home, a healing discussion about me, right? Not from a place of critique or anything other than just talking about what I need, who I am in that moment, what I'm experiencing, right? Almost like I would consider it like a verbal journal that was happening in that moment. I wasn't allowing the dialogue of the to-dos to creep in. Instead, it was just a moment of conversation with myself. And it took me a while to get comfortable. I'd say probably the first 3 days I was going to do 10 minutes a day. First few days I probably got to close to 5 minutes and got a little antsy, and then didn't really stay as dialed into it. And then it just continued to grow. And as that continued to blossom and grow, I saw myself softening to the idea of other people capturing photos of me, softening to the idea of me being in videos like this, of my photos going up without me feeling like I needed to take 5 to 10 different takes of that same shot, right? Instead of me trying to put out what I thought was perfect in the way of a picture or a video, I just allowed the moment of who I am to just be. And so it took a long time to get to this place of allowing myself to be seen by others. But before I thought to post it or put it anywhere, I just would capture these moments for myself. And so to be honest with you, I felt a lot of healing in learning how to take a selfie, because I had never really taken a selfie up to this point, but learning how to just take a picture of myself and allow myself to keep that picture because we could do the thing where we'll take 50 retakes of the same shot. And then the next thing is being vulnerable enough to show it to someone else, maybe sending it to someone that I love, then maybe even taking the next step and sharing it in a place where other people can witness me with social media or websites or things like that. So exactly how does this practice start? So if you were wanting to begin this practice of mirror work, you don't have to start with 5 minutes. It's not something that I would even recommend. I would start with something as little as 30 seconds in front of the mirror. A little timer, just you and yourself. I believe that is such power in consistency. So if you think that you can stick to 30 seconds, and it could be at a time that is connected to something that is a daily habit. For example, Atomic Habits is a really great book if you've not read it, but Atomic Habits talks about what's called habit stacking, which means that if you are, say, brushing your teeth every morning, maybe right before you brush your teeth, you do your 30 seconds, or right after you brush your teeth, you do your 30 seconds, and you just sit there in 30 seconds. And that's something that you attach to that habit. And now all of a sudden it's something that you can be more consistent with because you created a habit around something that you already do that is happening every day. And so find something that feels like the right kind of habit for you and stick to it. Be consistent with yourself. 30 seconds is plenty of time to create this habit of allowing yourself to pause and be seen. I know it sounds probably crazy. Many of us are like, well, I spend a lot of time in the mirror because I'm messing with my hair and I'm doing, I don't mean just being in the mirror, right? We are not talking about you get in front of the mirror and messing with your hair and doing the makeup, whatever. No, I mean you eye to eye and just looking at, talking to, witnessing you. That's what I'm asking you to do. You don't even need to say anything. It's going to feel a little awkward, might feel a little bit emotional, but I guarantee you that it is transformative. You will feel the difference. It will start to become a relationship with yourself that maybe you have never experienced before. Something that allows you to open up this part of you and begin a coming home, a little healing, a little comfortable in your own skin, comfortable in your vessel that you're expending your entire life in, just allowing yourself to be fully, wholly you, appreciating what you look like, what your eyes look like, right? Appreciating that moment, just that moment. I'm not asking you to do anything particular, don't have to say anything. I want you to sit the mirror no more than a couple of feet away. Might seem like maybe a foot and a half away from you, and just you and your eyes. And so I know it might seem really uncomfortable. You might sit down and be like, oh my God, what is she asking me to do? This is crazy. But just try it. Stick to it. I recommend at least 20 days, maybe 20 to 30 days straight. Just try it every single day. Like I said, 30 seconds. Maybe a little longer if you start feeling like it's supporting you. But stick to it. And then if you are already a journaler or you have a friend you want to share it with, let your friend know. Or if you don't have anybody that feels like they would be able to receive this, then come back here and share it here on this video and let me know that this is something that you tried. I'm really interested to know how it sat with you and whether or not you were able to find some support with this kind of practice. I'm going to add in a couple of other layers. After you've done that for at least 20 days, start with just one little statement of I see you. Just an I see you to yourself in the mirror. It doesn't have to be any other way. You don't have to repeat it. Just one sentence. Start with that. Then maybe you want to switch it up a little bit, add in some additional conversation with yourself. I appreciate you is the next affirmation or statement I'd like for you to say to yourself. And then I love you. The final one, I love you. Looking at yourself in your eyes and saying that you love yourself beyond transformational. I promise you're going to be like, you might cry. I'm just going to put it out there, because we can move through life and give to other relationships and be so present with others, so loving, so caring with other people, and completely miss out on ourselves. Or I would say dangle a carrot that says, hey, you got to get to here and then I'll appreciate you. Or you got to achieve this weight, or you got to do this thing with your hair, or start this treatment with your skin, or whatever, and then I'll care for you or I'll love you. And instead, just witnessing yourself and using these words as a loving, healing way to show up for yourself, to create this deepening of your own relationship, to create this healing of your own life experience, this healing of the relationships that you have, not to the outside world, but to yourself. Promise you it's going to be transformational. So you're doing your 30 days, your 20 days. We'll start with 20 days, 30 seconds, 20 days for 30 seconds. You've added in your other words, right? I see you. I appreciate you. And then I love you, right? And if you can layer them in, meaning do all three of them in the day that in the moment that you are having this conversation with yourself, those 30 seconds, say these statements to yourself. Then my next challenge to you is to take a photo of yourself every week. One time a week, that's 52 photos a year. That's not a lot. 365 days in a year, 52 photos. If you think about how many photos you've taken, I want you to look at your phone in a year just to see how many photos you take. If I'm asking you to take 52 of yourself, it's not a lot. I want you to take a photo of yourself, not perfect, not in your acceptable, and I'll put that in air, acceptable to past version of yourself, but instead I want you to take the picture of yourself when you feel like it's time. It doesn't have to be any particular time of day or with any kind of specific kind of outfit on. You pick when you want to take it, but be consistent. So as I said, habit stacking is the right thing. So maybe a perfect place for you to do it is that mirror right before you're going to walk out the door to work, or maybe it's in the car when you first get in the car in the morning. Pick a time where you can remind yourself, this is the time that I am committing to this one photo a week. I'm going to make sure that I get this photo done once a week. And then maybe it builds from there. Maybe instead of you having one photo of yourself, maybe you're taking multiple photos each week, or maybe you're doing it in different places and not just in the place that you've committed to. But start with that place, commit to that habit at least once a week. Take that photo of yourself, not for social media, doesn't have to go anywhere. It's just documenting yourself to you. Allowing yourself to be present in your life again, to be the main character of your story, to be the main character of your photos in your phone. All right. And I want you to really start thinking about how often am I giving myself the time and space that I need in a day. This is the last step to allowing yourself to be the main character in your story, is at least once a week. Have you stopped to ask yourself, what is it that I need this week? What is it that would allow me to be uniquely, individually me, right? When I allow myself to be witnessed and appreciated, what allows me to feel more appreciation, to feel more love? It doesn't have to be the cliche self-love habits that people talk about, right? Sometimes it's simple. It's like me curling up with a nice book on a hammock for a half a day or half an hour. I said half a day would be nice. For half an hour feels like I'm giving myself that moment of appreciation, of love, right? Maybe that's what you need. Maybe it's just a quiet time to yourself in the morning. Maybe it's an opportunity for you to talk to a loved one that you haven't had a time to connect with, to really deeply connect with, right? Maybe it's journaling. That's one of my practices that helps me feel appreciated, to feel loved, is just allowing the words, the thoughts, the feelings from deep within me to come out, to have a home, to be invited somewhere, and allowing myself to be present. Maybe it's going to therapy. Maybe it's what you need is to talk to someone else that is able to be in deep listening. Perhaps that you need someone that is just going to be that quiet, deep listener in your life. So I really am excited to understand how you allow yourself to become this main character in your own story, to be witnessed, to be seen by you, starting with mirror work. Mirror work is so incredibly powerful. And I think that you will see the difference if you just allow yourself to commit to these practices for at least those 20 days for that first step. Then you might take those additional steps that we mentioned. But after you stop for those 30 seconds and continue this habit, let me know how it's going for you. Let me know what that journey is like, even if it's like a, oh my God, that was so uncomfortable kind of moment. I am really excited to hear from you. You might even feel excited to share the experience as you move into the next steps. If you're taking your selfie for the first time, whatever it is, right? Feel free to tag me and all those things. You can find me there on socials at Mindfully Amplified Podcast or Amplified by Jasmine. I am really grateful that you have stayed here to listen to this episode, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from you and learning more about your journey. But for now, we are going to end this episode, and I will see you guys really soon. Have a really special rest of your day. Take care.